I don't think this is a new thing. Like, I think like the youth of every generation has always been quite open-minded. Like, I think it's a thing as like a young person to kind of want to rebel, but against sort of like taking down the government and like taking down, like, that's part of being a young person. Do you know what I mean? They kind of come hand in hand. But definitely like you're starting to see a lot more young people maybe like sort of like side with that and kind of stand up for what they believe in, and which is really important. And I think it's great to see as well, because it kind of gives the rest of us hope.
Derry does kind of pride itself on being like there was something called a city of song, and it's from all those things that I mentioned in the past. It's from the show band, it's from Irish traditional music, it's from the face, it's from amateur opera, and it is from rock and roll as well. And also it's important to Derry people as well, because there is that kind of thing that it wasn't really unusual for people to be in bands. So yeah, it's it really is part of who we are and what we are.
Very important in terms of young people having a release, because as we know, there's not so much for young people to do, particularly in Derry with the way things have always been here and the lack of jobs and the lack of opportunities, particularly during the conflict. And I do think that the current love of music does stem from that, because young people didn't really have an outlet or anything to do, and so they saw music as a way of expressing themselves, as a way of getting together, as a way of organising events that didn't really have a community. The musical community is separate from any other community here, and it's a joined community. There's no us and them. It's all very communal, and the support of that and the love and that is really important, I think, locally.
Growing up in Derry is strange because, as an early teenager in secondary school and stuff, a lot of my friends had political views and stuff that I didn't exactly agree with and didn't want to be a part of. I just wanted to live my own life, and music like ska and when I was a skinhead at an early age really influenced me and showed me that there's a lot more to life than just being stuck in Derry. And actually, you can go out and enjoy yourself and make friends from all over the world just because you have the same interest in this music that affects you in some way, and enough that you recognise it and you want to chase it, and maybe it changes how you dress or what you listen to. But music is a real escape for people, and it really helps them through any issues or whatever. I know that especially myself, through reggae just completely changed my life, and I've never looked back since.
You see, it's not too bad up in Derry. Well, for me, we see down in fucking Donegal, or even especially Galway, it's fucking worse. You walk into a bar and they're all just staring at you. That's the time with the shaved head.
I would get it here too, especially on the water side. People here more on the city side more understanding, but you get some stares and you would get people saying they accusing you and shit, but it's just a kind of shit.
Well, music provides a voice for a lot of people, especially people in subcultures like mods or the skinheads and punks as well, because they're all trying to voice how they feel and what they want from life, and they'll get that through their music. And then because them and their friends and stuff have the same taste in music, they feel like they have a family outside of the house. Music for a lot of people, and especially subcultures, is getting away from your mom and dad fighting, or maybe you don't like just the way the things are going at the minute. You don't like kind of what's trendy or what's popular, and you want to be yourself and try to be a bit more individual. So people will turn to subcultures, and through that they'll sort of have a family away from home.
My dad, he bought a ska, Trojan ska album from Asda, and he put it in the car, and I thought it was fucking I was the first time I heard ska, and I was like, what the fuck? I was about 13, I was like, what the fuck is this? But then it was Desmond Dekker, Israelites. The more I heard that, I was like, this is a fucking tune. First time I heard it, I was laughing. I was like, what the fuck are you listening to that? But after a while, then I was like, this is a fucking tune. Started listening to more ska, and it's gone a bit there.
I had a fucking, that iPod shuffles. I had one of them when I was 6, and my dad downloaded all the tunes for me because I didn't know fuck all music, and there would have been a lot of two-tone on the specials and the beat and all, but some the old stuff like Jimmy Cliff and all, and I just fucking loved it.
Well, the issues that surround young people in Derry a lot is mental health, because we are living after the Troubles and there's not really a lot of things for young people to do apart from either get sucked into that or try to be something different. So a lot of people get into subculture and find music that really like speaks to them and like kind of expresses how they feel. Maybe it's anger or happiness, or maybe they're just trying to get away from the norm and try to escape something. So music does that for them.
What we're trying to offer people through our music, and what we're trying to what we're trying to offer people is cathartic release. You know, the music's loud and it's angry, but it's also soft and sad, and sometimes it's upbeat and happy, because, well, mainly because like if you can see us screaming our lungs out about the state of things, then maybe it can help you feel less alone when you want to scream your lungs out about the state of things. And yeah, I know growing up that was a big thing with me, is I used to listen to a lot of music about people who weren't happy when I wasn't happy. So yeah, that's what we're trying to hit on, or the themes that are important in our music.
I don't think there's one kind of specific theme that our songs focus on, but if there was one that we would have to say, it's definitely a broad kind of theme, but it's specifically for a lot of Derry bands, mental health is a huge topic to talk about. It's like the huge mental health epidemic that's going on in Derry right now. It's like really awful, and everybody wants to obviously bring attention to it, and you know, it's just a huge topic to talk about at the moment in the music scene especially.
Sometimes like the songs will be not really about anything particular, and or like nights out or whatever. You write about generally sort of what you know, which for us not a lot, but but yeah, so there's not it all sort of vary depending on the songs. So.
You're kind of writing for your audience, and our audience is kind of an age group that we relate to, I suppose.
Not Josh.
Well, she's not that old, but if you look at like our best days, it's just basically about out in the summer with your friends and just having a crack, and everyone's like, "Whoa, what's happening?"
Do you see a lot of kind of drunk people kind of around Derry? We're kind of like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, but this one was a bit different because he came up and he said he was going to go throw himself off the bridge. So we didn't really know what to do. We thought instead we should just pass it off and expect these.
In shock, we're kind of just like, what's happening? This is a drunk person. But he started walking towards Jill Card's way, going across the road over. And there was other people there who'd also heard this and had probably been talking to him before, and they ran after him.
The road.
So
you went and followed him, and I went to the bus station to tell someone to call the police, and then we went over, and he was on the other side of the bridge, and we grabbed him and got the people over.
Ages holding him for like a long
by the bridge
time,
for a long time.
That was probably really scary.
It was eye-opening, to be honest, seeing how severe it is over here.
You hear about it, like you would hear.
You hear about it everywhere.
After the fight, the person's already died.
Isn't there like somebody like 8 men died or something here?
I was thinking about like not as much just like the suicide epidemic, but like the aftermath and what happens in the media and
like the thought process of that man.
So it's like about like how afterward like you'll like the world treats you as if you're just like another number, because there's so many people like dying like that, and all that stuff, and like the results of like what it does to people around you,
like
and
your family, and
if that
seeing
guy,
like percentages on the screen, but actually seeing one person
if that guy had done it at late at night and no one was there, and like gone through with it,
he would be gone.
We might have seen like a couple sentences in the newspaper or something.
Yeah, or just scroll past on Facebook like and never.
The CD that we just put out, Is Was Wasn't, is in reference to a friend of mine or it's written about, I should say, a friend of mine that took her own life when I was younger, and also other people that I knew who passed, all of them in recent enough years that you're not entirely over it yet, and you're not entirely comfortable, you know, with the situation. And writing the music about it, we wanted to be very straightforward and blunt and be honest about what it was about, because it's very hard to write about that stuff and it's very hard to admit that stuff, but it needs to be talked about, it needs to be destigmatized, it needs to be okay to say, you know, you're not in a good place or you're not well.
I think so.
Definitely. I think if you make music, there's going to be someone on the planet that can identify with that music, no matter what it is. You know, it could be noisecore or like, or it could be country music. You know, someone's gonna love it somewhere. So.
Because Derry is it's got a really big youth kind of community. We're all kind of on the same boat. We have same interests and same ideas.
Vibe.
Same vibe.
Everyone's favourite word.
I think that it's important to talk about serious things, like political things in your music, just to represent who you are and what your views are. I don't think pop stars and stuff really talk about it enough, and that's what's being exposed to most people. Mm-hmm. So I feel if there was more of a political and more moral thing in it,
and it takes the stigma away, just talking about it, and thousands of people hearing it, it'll obviously help because it takes all the pressure away and the stigma away from talking about it.
Yeah, the more honest the music is, if you can tell the artist is kind of no matter what genre they play, if you can tell it's kind of honest, it kind of has it just feels more natural.
Yeah.
It gives a sort of voice for our generation, that this is how it's affecting us, and they don't give a fuck. It really just annoys the fuck out of me.
We have fuck politics, and that was just kind of our song to say, fuck politics.
We didn't want to be associated with their side.
We probably, if it's needed, we probably will write a song. But at the moment, we're just gonna have to crack. We're not the fucking old creators and all that relatable. It's not everyone's in the fucking politics. Not everyone's sitting here with Brexit. Everyone's sitting here with politics and shit.
No younger person really gives a fuck. To be honest, hey. Brexit is a disaster. With that dickhead Boris Johnson in charge, he's going to run the country into the ground. He's looking to take away the NHS. He's looking it'll affect us because of we're going to be the ones growing up with it.
Our generation is the one who's suffering repercussions. Our generation is the one that's suffering the worst repercussions of the situation.
We weren't the age to vote when the referendum came about, and I remember watching it there last week. Was it last Saturday, wasn't it, or Friday even? Watching these people all celebrating in England and all, and I couldn't spot a single person that was at least in their under 30. It's our future that's been affected, and it's not us that's getting to decide.
I think definitely, whenever we were starting out, it definitely was a male-dominated scene. More recently, it seems to be more of a don't know if it's 50-50 yet, but it's definitely starting to become
Surge of women, like
oh, I bet like we're looking at like, I think it really is like sort of like a revolution, like the way that you see so many like female fronted, like I hate that expression, but like so many like women in bands just kind of coming forward and being like, we are going to do this now, and I don't know why that is really. But it's great, whatever it is, it needs to keep happening, do you know what I mean? But I don't know why like only now is it starting to happen.
I feel like women in the music industry just like always weren't taken seriously. If it was going to be a band, it was going to be a female fronted band, like not an all female band. But like even now when you look at like all aspects of the music industry, like I don't know one female sound engineer.
Well, maybe that's why I think like more recently like there's sort of like a chain reaction, like you see like some women in like bands or whatever, and they might be like the only one in like the town that you live in or whatever, but you can definitely take influence from that, like in the same way that boys take influence from like guys in bands. You know, you take influence from like women in bands, and you think that's really cool. It's another example of like a chain reaction of how you see one person doing it and you're like, oh, I can do that, like that's something that I could do. And I think that's what we're seeing now with like women in bands. It's like there is like a secure kind of influence there where like we know that there's a scene for that kind of music, and it's like I think like people are starting to become a lot more accepting of like women in music, so it's like why not, like why can't we do it, why can't we like share a stage with like other women, and why can't I think like female kind of musicians like kind of coming in like smashing the idea that like what like music is like a guy's thing, and being in a band is a guy's thing, is also paving the way for a lot of like, as you're saying, like non-binary people, and a lot of like people that are like transgender and things like that air, because it's kind of just become like a big like fuck you to like just the stigma that is like just like boys in bands, do you know what I mean? So like now we're all sort of like coming up and like because like rebelling and being like, why can't we do that? Do you know what I mean?
Like even whenever I was younger and like I would take influence from a lot of like punk bands, like not one of them like was had any sort of like female influence. And whenever I used to listen to like, I was obsessed with Green Day, and my ma used to come in and be like, what are you listening to that for? That's like that's a man's, you know, thing, like that's men's music. And I'm like, music isn't gendered, don't say that, like don't say punk music is a man's thing or metal music is a man's thing. But
that is true.
She's wised up now.
That is true. Like, especially like people of that same generation, like my mom is well, is very like, you know, like
it should be
not
like,
even
women should be on the dance floor listening to Cascada.
I know.
And then men should be like, you know,
rock out. Rock it out. Dublin or something.
There will always be a place for music in Derry because as young people learn their skills and get good at it, then they take them elsewhere, or maybe they join the industry. Maybe they're working in the music industry now, and then they leave a space for the younger ones that are coming up behind them, and they can learn from that and fill that void. And so in that way, there's a never-ending cycle of musicality in Derry, which is brilliant for those leaving it and brilliant for those coming in, that there is that reciprocal kind of feeling, and there's a lot of love in the industry locally, and everyone supports each other, and I think that's really important.
Well, the thing is, like bands do, like there is bands that come out and support each other, so like we could be playing like a punk show, and then like we'd have like probably these fucking hippies coming and they'd be watching us and they'd be loving it, and then the week after we'd be coming watching these fucking hippies, you know.
I haven't seen that anywhere else.
No,
like we would literally be on, we'd be sitting there, a group of fucking skinhead mods and one corner, and then you'd have the hippies at the other side, but we're all mates, like it's all one big fucking
we're all out the foot in a wee bit, like smoking a joint or something. Chatting about acid or something like that.
But it's fucking, there's big variety and it all mixes in, like.
I think it's brilliant.
Blossoming.
It is extremely blossoming.
Yeah.
Like there's so many bands at the moment, like it's such a
too many. Have to take out a few copies.
It's just a huge range of bands. Like it's not just indie or it's not just punk. Like you could literally any genre and you could just go see a gig.
That's the thing. Like whenever we're on tour, people always ask like, "What's the punk scene like where you're from?" And it's like there's not really a punk scene. There's just a music scene. It's not genre specific because Derry is one of the only places I've ever been where you'll have like really good gigs where everybody's mates, but all the bands are totally different. You could have like a fucking acoustic artist on, and then like a pop artist, then a fucking punk band, then like a fucking whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just a music scene. It's not a genre specific scene, which is pretty unique, I think. Well, like Bennington's and Sandinos, I think have for years now been sort of the centre sort of points for touring and local musicians. They play gigs in Derry at a sort of in a smaller capacity, but people like Kieran Dunlap and stuff and Music Capital are starting to put on shows in the Glassworks, put on shows in 720, what do you call it?
I can't mind
Rasheen's or whatever. Also Rosie Joe's are putting on gigs. Everybody's putting on gigs. Nerve Centre's still doing loads of shows. Nerve Centre Wee Room, like it used to be the bar, which is still a bar, but it used to be just a bar. It's now a bar and venue. There's loads of things.
There's a great novel from out about 30 years ago. Robert Graham wrote it and somebody else. It was like a fictionalized version of Elvis Presley's life called Elvis the Novel. And it's weird because, you know, it's fictionalized, so Elvis doesn't die in 1977. And in 78 or 79, he's in America and the Clash come to see him. And the Clash do a show. And Elvis, I think, comes on and does, I can't remember what the song, he does like Mystery Train or something with the Clash. And Joe Strummer then says, Elvis, that was brilliant. You should be playing again. He says, Joe, rock and roll is just a burst of teenage poetry.
Good evening. 3 more people have tested positive in the UK for coronavirus, with Northern Ireland confirming its first case tonight.
What's going on, baby? I'm in love with you. I love to got loves in my head. Driving my suspicion, but there's no proof. In the papers today, filled with war and rage, the world exploits feelings from money. And make
to the pad, it's going mad. Cocaine straight to the brain, fuck that. Jaw piece, fuck the rap. Machine going funk by the chunk. Fight from the heifer, you're a badass. Don't give lip or you'll get slapped. Get back to the gap when you're too dark. Better get back to the lab, you cheap rat. The threats sleep up behind all the tossing you got and unwind. Let the grass smoke and biggest take over the place and try and have a good time. Drink from the beer, act white. A bottle of vodka and it's all mine. Drink a tall 5 and till I go blind and release my inner child. I mean, demon, I'm gonna go fucking nuts. I'm gonna scarf these knees and I'm leaving. You feel that shit I'm receiving. Keep it lit until your heart starts beating. It's that time, my friend. Go flight again. Get in into it. Get up, get over it. It's that time, my friend. Go flight again. Get in into it. Get up, get over it. Fuck the world one question, who the fuck are you impressing? Spice by profession, you can learn a lesson, get smoked on a session. That's my habitat, I'm just casting.
What's a crack?
Don't know what them boys are on. Pocket full of east, pocket coke through a bomb, play the CMO sauce, pocket triple roll on, top on, so we go on and so on. What's a big task, man? Go away, do you load of guns laying out on the floor? Shoe drugs, two drugs, got fucked, me about that bush looked out, I never looked up. Make this rap, my balls up, city. Blow out your hole, stop acting so pretty. Gets in the head of an ordinary span, where I plan to blow up like an Afghan. It's that time, my friend. Full flight again. Get in into you. Get up, get over it. It's that time, my friend. Full flight again. Get in into you. Get up, get over it. Cheers, man. Thank you. Cheers, man. No, you love it.